I was standing in Judge Patricia Harmon's courtroom on the third floor of the Erie County Courthouse, watching my wife's lawyer present her case for full custody of our daughter, when my phone buzzed in my pocket. The notification said, "Cloud backup complete, 47 new audio files." My hands were steady on the wooden rail in front of me. Carpenter's hands, calloused and scarred from 42 years of working with wood. But my heart was hammering so hard against my ribs, I thought everyone in that courtroom could hear it. The courtroom smelled like old wood and floor polish, that sharp, lemony industrial smell they use in government buildings that never quite masks the underlying odor of decades of fear and disappointment. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, that constant electrical buzz that gets inside your skull. The October sun was coming through the tall windows on the east side, making dust motes dance in the air like tiny witnesses to what was happening. My daughter Emma was sitting 3 rows behind me with my sister Carol. Emma was 13 years old, blonde hair pulled back in a ponytail, blue eyes like her mother's, wearing the navy dress I'd bought her for school pictures last month. She was old enough to understand what was happening in this courtroom, old enough to know that her mother was standing up there, hand on a Bible, swearing to tell the truth while planning to tell nothing but lies. My wife's lawyer, a man named Dennis Crawford, was mid-sentence. He was maybe 50 years old, wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost more than my truck, silver hair combed back, wire-rimmed glasses that he kept adjusting for effect. His voice was smooth, professional, the kind of voice that makes you believe everything he says even when he's lying. "Your Honor," Crawford was saying, "my client Angela Masterson is here today with a heavy heart. She loves her husband. She's been married to him for 12 years, but she can no longer ignore what she's seeing. Roy Masterson is experiencing cognitive decline, early-onset dementia. His own father suffered from the same condition, and while Roy is in denial, Angela must think of their daughter's safety." I watched Judge Harmon. She was maybe 65 years old, grey hair cut short, sharp eyes behind reading glasses, 20 years on the bench. My lawyer Beth Rodriguez had told me Judge Harmon was fair but tough, that she didn't suffer fools, that she'd see through lies if we could prove they were lies. But we couldn't prove anything. That was the problem. Crawford had photos, medical reports, testimony from witnesses. He had a case built piece by careful piece over 6 months, and all I had was my word that none of it was true. Until 30 seconds ago, when my phone buzzed. I pulled it out slowly, carefully. The screen showed the cloud backup notification. I'd set up automatic backup months ago. My phone, my tablet, my laptop, all backing up to one cloud account. Photos, documents, everything. I'd forgotten it was even running. But Angela used my tablet sometimes to look up recipes, to check her email when her phone was charging, to browse Pinterest for interior design ideas. I'd given her my password years ago, never thought about it, never changed it. The tablet was sitting on her nightstand right now, charging, automatically backing up everything on it, including her voice memos, 47 of them. I clicked the notification. The files opened, all dated and time-stamped. I put in my earbuds, opened the first file. Angela's voice came through clear as a bell. October 2nd, 9:47 p.m. Roy believed the story about Emma being scared of him. She's such a good actress. We practiced what she'd say for an hour before he got home. When she started crying and said he'd yelled at her, you should have seen his face. He looked so confused, so hurt, like he actually couldn't remember doing it. Which of course he couldn't because it never happened. This is working better than I thought. Paul says if we keep this up for another 2 weeks, we'll have enough for the custody filing. My blood went cold. The courtroom seemed to tilt. I gripped the rail harder. If you've ever watched someone you love destroy you with lies while you stood there helpless, hit that like button right now. Because this is the story of how one cloud backup notification saved my life. I scrolled through the other files, saw the dates. September, August, all the way back to March. 7 months of recordings. 7 months of Angela documenting her plan to destroy me. Crawford was still talking, showing photos to the judge, a picture of me standing in our driveway at 2 in the morning. I was in my pajamas, barefoot, looking confused. I didn't remember that photo being taken, didn't remember being outside at 2 a.m., but there it was. As you can see, Your Honor, Mr. Masterson was found wandering outside his home in the middle of the night, disoriented and confused about where he was. I looked at Beth Rodriguez sitting next to me. She was 43 years old, best family lawyer in Erie, short dark hair, pantsuits, no nonsense. She told me that morning that things didn't look good, that Angela's documentation was too thorough, that her medical experts were too credible, that unless we had proof she was lying, I was going to lose custody of Emma, maybe even lose all visitation rights. I leaned forward, tapped Beth's shoulder. She turned. I held up my phone, showed her the notification. "I need to show you something," I whispered. She frowned. I handed her one earbud, played the first recording, watched her eyes go wide, watched her mouth open slightly, watched her face change from concern to shock to something that looked like fury. She listened to 3 recordings. Then she pulled out the earbud and looked at me. "Roy," she whispered, "this is evidence of fraud, conspiracy, perjury. Everything she said is a lie." "I know. Can you send me all these files right now?" "Yes." "Do it. Send them to my phone. Then don't say anything. Let Crawford finish. Let Angela testify. Get her on record under oath lying. Then we spring this." I sent the files, 47 recordings, watched the progress bar on my screen, 70%, 80%, complete. Crawford was moving to his next piece of evidence, a medical report from a neuropsychologist named Dr. Stephen Walsh. Crawford held it up. Dr. Walsh conducted a comprehensive evaluation of Mr. Masterson's cognitive state based on detailed observations provided by Mrs. Masterson over a 6-month period. His conclusion, Your Honor, is that Roy Masterson is exhibiting signs consistent with early-stage dementia, with associated behavioral changes, including memory loss, confusion, and episodes of aggression. Judge Harmon looked at the report. "Mr. Crawford, did Dr. Walsh actually examine Mr. Masterson in person?" "No, Your Honor. Mr. Masterson refused to see Dr. Walsh. But Dr. Walsh is an expert in his field with over 20 years of experience. His evaluation is based on extensive documentation provided by Mrs. Masterson, who has observed her husband's decline daily for the past year." I wanted to stand up, wanted to shout that it was all lies, but Beth had her hand on my arm. Steady pressure. "Wait," her grip said. "Be patient. Measure twice, cut once." That's what my father taught me when I was 14 years old, standing in his workshop behind our house on East 38th Street in Erie. He was teaching me carpentry, how to measure a board, how to mark the cut, how to check your measurements before you touched the saw. "Roy," he'd say, pencil behind his ear, carpenter's square in his hand, "you measure twice before you cut once, because once you cut that board, you can't uncut it. Once you commit to the line, that's it, you understand?" I understood. I'd been measuring for 42 years, measuring boards, measuring angles, measuring people. And I'd measured Angela wrong, trusted when I should have verified, believed when I should have questioned. But now I had the measurements I needed, 47 recordings, 47 pieces of evidence that my wife had spent 7 months systematically destroying my reputation, gaslighting me into thinking I was losing my mind, and coaching our daughter to lie. Measure twice, cut once. I'd been measuring for 7 months without knowing it, and now it was time to cut. Let me back up a little, give you the full picture, because you need to understand who Angela was, who I was, and how we got to this moment in a courthouse on a Thursday morning in late October. My name is Roy Masterson. I was 57 years old that fall, living in Erie, Pennsylvania. Born July 22nd, 1968, at St. Vincent Hospital on West 25th Street, same hospital where my father was born in 1943 and where he died in 2016 after a 7-year battle with dementia that started when he was 62 years old and ended when he was 69 and didn't recognize me anymore. I'd been a carpenter my entire adult life, started at 14 working summers with my dad. He ran a small carpentry business, Masterson & Son, out of a workshop he'd built in 1975. We did custom work, cabinets, staircases, furniture, renovations, quality work. The kind of work where people kept our business card for decades and called us when they needed something done right. I graduated from East High School in 1986. Barely. Math was okay. English was hard. But put a piece of wood and a set of plans in front of me and I could build anything. After graduation, I worked full-time with Dad. Learned everything he knew. Learned how to read a level, how to cut a mortise and tenon joint, how to match wood grain, how to sand a piece until it felt like silk under your fingers. When Dad retired in 1995, I took over the business. Changed the name to Masterson Custom Woodwork. Moved to a bigger shop on East Lake Road in 2003. It's still there. 2,200 square feet. 2 big work tables. Table saw, band saw, drill press, planer, jointer. Racks of wood along one wall. Oak, maple, cherry, walnut. The smell of sawdust and wood stain that gets into your clothes and your skin and becomes part of who you are. I hired 2 guys to work with me. Carlos Mendez in 2008 and Mike Patterson in 2013. Good workers, reliable. We did everything together. Built kitchen cabinets for new construction, refinished antique furniture, made custom dining room tables, bookshelves, entertainment centers. Built a spiral staircase for a mansion on the lake that took us 3 months and won us a regional craftsmanship award. I'd been married once before Angela. High school girlfriend named Sarah. Married in 1989 when we were both 21, divorced in 2001, no kids. She left me for a guy who sold insurance and wore a tie to work. Said she was tired of being married to a man who came home covered in sawdust every night. I didn't fight the divorce, just signed the papers and let her go. Stayed single for 12 years after that. Worked. That was my life. 6 days a week. Sometimes 7. Up at 5. Home at 7, eat, sleep, repeat. Then in August 2013 I met Angela. There was a home and garden show at the Erie Convention Center on Sassafras Street. I had a booth showing off some furniture pieces, a cherry wood dining table I'd made, a maple bookshelf, a walnut desk with dovetail drawers trying to drum up business. Angela walked by around 2 in the afternoon. She was 41 years old, blonde hair, blue eyes, maybe 5'6", wearing jeans and a white blouse. She stopped at my booth, looked at the dining table, ran her hand over the surface. "This is beautiful work," she said. "Thank you." "Did you make this yourself?" "I did. Took about 60 hours start to finish. The grain is gorgeous and these joint..." She leaned down, looked at where the legs met the apron. "Are these hand-cut?" I was surprised. Most people didn't notice joinery. "Yes, ma'am. Mortise and tenon pinned with wooden dowels." She smiled. "I work in interior design. I see a lot of furniture. Most of it is garbage, particle board with veneer. But this is real craftsmanship." We talked for 20 minutes. She told me she worked for a design firm called Elevate Interiors on State Street. She did residential design, helped people pick colors, furniture, layouts. She was divorced. Had a 1-year-old daughter named Emma. The father wasn't in the picture, hadn't been since Emma was born. I gave her my business card, she gave me hers, said she had clients who might need custom work. I said I'd appreciate the referral. She called 2 weeks later, said she had a client who needed built-in bookshelves. Could I give an estimate? I went to the house. It was in Mill Creek, nice place, 2-story colonial. The client wanted floor-to-ceiling shelves on either side of the fireplace. I measured, gave a quote. Got the job. Angela stopped by while I was installing the shelves, checked on the work, brought me coffee from Starbucks. We talked. She asked about my business. I asked about her daughter. She showed me pictures on her phone. Emma was a beautiful little girl. Blonde curls, big blue eyes, smiling in every photo. "She's the light of my life," Angela said. "Everything I do is for her." When I finished the bookshelves, Angela asked if I wanted to get dinner, just as friends, she said, to celebrate a job well done. We went to Molly Brannigan's on State Street, had burgers and beer. Talked for 3 hours. I told her about my dad, about learning the trade, about Sarah leaving, about spending 12 years alone. She told me about her ex-husband. His name was Frank. They'd gotten married when she was 23. He was 25. They'd tried for years to have a baby. Finally got pregnant when she was 40. She'd been thrilled. He'd been distant. When Emma was born, Frank held her once in the hospital, and then never again. He left when Emma was 3 months old, moved to Pittsburgh, sent divorce papers, didn't want custody, didn't want visitation, just wanted out. He said he'd made a mistake, Angela told me. Said he'd never wanted to be a father. Said seeing Emma just reminded him of everything he didn't want in life. That's rough, I said. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. Because if he'd stayed, Emma would have grown up with a father who resented her. This way she just grows up with me. And I love her enough for 2 parents. We started dating. Slow at first. Dinner once a week. A movie. A walk along the bayfront. I met Emma when she was 18 months old. She was shy at first, hid behind Angela's legs. But I brought her a wooden toy I'd made, a little pull-along duck with wheels. She loved it. Pulled it around Angela's apartment for an hour, giggling. By Christmas, I was spending every weekend at Angela's apartment. By March, we were talking about moving in together. By June, I'd proposed. We got married February 14th, 2014, Valentine's Day. Small ceremony at St. Paul's Cathedral on West 6th Street, just family and a few friends. Emma was the flower girl, 2 years old. She walked down the aisle, dropping rose petals and looking so proud of herself. I adopted Emma legally when she was 3, went to court, signed papers, changed her last name from Foster to Masterson. Her birth father had already signed away his parental rights, didn't even show up to the hearing. I became Emma's father in every way that mattered, and I loved that little girl with everything I had. Taught her to ride a bike when she was 5, built her a tree house in our backyard when she was 6. 2 levels, a rope bridge between them, real windows I'd salvaged from a church renovation. Spent 3 weekends on it. Emma helped, handed me nails, held the level. We painted it yellow because that was her favorite color. Helped her with homework every night. Math, reading, science projects. I wasn't great at the academic stuff, but I tried. When she had to build a model of the solar system in 4th grade, we spent a whole weekend making planets out of papier-mâché and hanging them from fishing line in perfect scale. Went to every school concert, every parent-teacher conference, every soccer game. Angela and I would sit in the bleachers and cheer while Emma ran up and down the field, usually in the wrong direction, but always with complete enthusiasm. We were happy, or at least I thought we were happy. Angela worked, I worked, Emma went to school. We had dinner together every night at the table I'd built from reclaimed barnwood, watched TV, went to church on Sundays at St. Paul's, took a vacation to Myrtle Beach every summer, rented a house on the beach, spent a week building sandcastles and swimming in the ocean and eating seafood. Normal life, good life, the kind of life where you wake up every morning and think you're lucky. But I didn't know what was happening under the surface, didn't know that normal was rotting from the inside. It started small, so small I almost didn't notice. Last spring, March of 2025, Angela started commenting on my memory. "Roy, did you take your vitamins this morning?" she'd ask at breakfast. "I think so." "You think so? You don't remember?" "I took them, I'm pretty sure." She'd open the pill organizer I kept by the coffee maker. "They're still here, honey. You forgot." I'd look. She was right. The Monday slot was still full. I'd have sworn I'd taken them. But there they were. Huh. Guess I forgot. That's the 3rd time this week. I've just got a lot on my mind. Big project at the shop. Maybe. But Roy, you've been forgetting a lot of little things lately. I'm a little worried. It kept happening. I'd forget where I'd put my keys. They'd be in the garage instead of on the hook by the door. I'd forget appointments. My phone would show I'd marked them in my calendar, but I'd have no memory of it. I'd forget conversations. Angela would say we'd talked about something and I'd have no recollection. At first, I thought she was right. I was 57. Maybe my memory was slipping. My dad had developed dementia at 62. Maybe it was starting early for me. But then the incidents got bigger, stranger. In April, Angela said I'd forgotten to pick Emma up from soccer practice. I was working late at the shop. My phone rang at 7. "Roy, where are you?" Angela's voice was sharp, angry. "I'm at the shop finishing up a desk. Why?" "Emma's still at the field. She's been waiting for an hour. You were supposed to pick her up at 6. "What? No, you were picking her up. We talked about it this morning." "We didn't talk about anything. You said you'd get her. She called me crying because you never showed up. I drove to the soccer field. Emma was there with her coach, sitting on the bench. She looked upset. I felt terrible. I'm so sorry, Em. I thought your mom was getting you. It's okay, Dad, but you said this morning you'd be there. I did? Yeah, at breakfast. You said you'd come straight from work. I tried to remember the conversation, couldn't. The morning was a blur. That night, Angela sat me down. Roy, this is getting serious. You forgot your daughter. She was scared and alone and you forgot her. I honestly thought you were getting her. I know you think that. That's what worries me. You're remembering things that didn't happen, or not remembering things that did. In May, Angela made an appointment with my doctor without telling me. Dr. Richard Morrison. I'd been seeing him for 23 years, ever since I was 34, and threw out my back lifting a piece of wet oak. He'd kept me healthy, told me to lose weight, checked my blood pressure, the normal stuff. Roy, Dr. Morrison said when I came in, Angela called me. She's concerned about your memory. She's overreacting. I've just been busy. Maybe. But let's run some tests just to be safe. He did a cognitive screening, asked me to remember 3 words and repeat them 5 minutes later, count backward from 100 by 7s. Draw a clock showing a specific time. Repeat a string of numbers forward and backward. Copy a design. I passed everything. Your cognitive function is normal for your age, Roy. I don't see any signs of dementia, I told Angela. She smiled, said she was relieved. But the comments didn't stop. In June, she said I'd forgotten to pay the electric bill. We got a disconnect notice. I showed her the confirmation email showing I'd paid it on time. She frowned, said that was strange. Said the electric company must have made a mistake. In July, she said I'd told her I'd be home by 6 for dinner. I didn't get home until 8:30. She was angry. Said I'd worried her. Said she'd been calling and texting and I hadn't responded. I showed her my phone, no missed calls, no texts. She looked at my phone, looked at me, said, "That's so weird. I definitely called you." The incidents piled up. Little things, big things, things that made me question my own memory, made me wonder if I was losing my mind. In August, Angela insisted I see a specialist, a neurologist, Dr. Patricia Chen at UPMC Hammett Hospital on State Street. I went, did a full neurological workup, MRI of my brain, blood work, another cognitive screening, more memory tests. Dr. Chen reviewed everything. "Mr. Masterson, your brain looks healthy. No signs of stroke, no tumors, no atrophy, no plaques. Your blood work is normal. Your cognitive screening is normal. I don't see any evidence of dementia. But my wife says I'm forgetting things all the time." Dr. Chen looked at my chart. Stress can affect memory. Depression can affect memory. Sleep problems can affect memory. But Mr. Masterson, based on every objective measure I have, your brain is functioning normally. I told Angela. She said she was happy, said she was glad I was healthy. But she didn't stop watching me, didn't stop commenting, and she started telling other people. I'd hear her on the phone with her sister Rebecca. "I'm really worried about Roy. He's forgetting things constantly. The doctors say he's fine, but I live with him. I see it every day. I think it's early-stage dementia. His father had it, you know." She told our neighbors, Patricia Kowalski, who lived next door, Frank and Marie Santos across the street. They'd look at me differently, with pity, with concern. She told Emma's teachers. I found out when Emma's school counselor called me in for a meeting. Mrs. Davidson, nice lady, mid-50s. "Mr. Masterson, your wife contacted us. She's concerned about your health. She wanted us to know in case Emma needs extra support at school." "I'm fine. The doctors have cleared me." "I'm glad to hear that. But Mr. Masterson, if you are experiencing any health issues, we want to help. Emma is a wonderful student. We just want to make sure she has the support she needs." People started treating me like I was fragile, like I might break. The guys at my shop, Carlos and Mike, started double-checking my measurements, started asking if I was sure about cuts, started watching me like I might forget how to use a saw. "I'm fine," I kept saying, but I started wondering if I was lying. Then in September, everything escalated. I came home from work on a Tuesday evening. It was September 12th. I remember because it was Emma's 13th birthday. We were supposed to have cake and presents. I'd been at the shop all day finishing a custom entertainment center for a client. Got home around 6:30. Angela and Emma were sitting at the kitchen table. Emma had been crying. Her eyes were red. Angela looked furious. "What's wrong?" I asked. Angela stood up. Her voice was cold, hard. "Roy, Emma says you yelled at her this morning before school, called her names. She's been upset all day." I froze. "What? I didn't yell at Emma. I was at the shop all morning. I left before she even woke up." Emma wouldn't look at me. She was staring at the table. "You did, Dad. Before you left. You came into my room and said I was lazy for not being awake yet. You said I was stupid for forgetting to do my math homework. You called me an idiot." My stomach dropped. "Emma, I never said that. I would never say that. I love you. I'd never call you names." "She's not lying, Roy." Angela's voice was ice. "And this isn't the first time. You've been angry lately, aggressive. Emma's scared of you." "Scared of me? That's insane. Emma, look at me." Emma looked up. Tears were running down her face. "I don't want to make you mad, Dad." "You're not making me mad. I'm confused. I didn't yell at you this morning. I swear on everything I love I didn't do that." Angela stepped between us. "You don't remember, that's the problem. Your memory is getting worse. Your behavior is getting worse. I can't ignore this anymore. I'm seeing doctors. They say I'm fine. They're wrong. I live with you. I see what's happening and I have to protect our daughter." That night I lay in bed next to Angela and tried to remember the morning. What had I done? I'd gotten up at 5 like always, made coffee, ate breakfast, went to the shop. Hadn't I? Had I gone into Emma's room? Had I yelled at her? I tried to see it in my mind, tried to remember, but there was nothing, just blank space. Maybe Angela was right. Maybe the doctors were wrong. Maybe I was forgetting things I'd done. Maybe I was losing my mind and just couldn't see it. The next week, Angela moved Emma into the guest bedroom on the first floor. Said Emma didn't feel safe sleeping upstairs near our bedroom. Said Emma needed space until I got help. "I'm seeing doctors," I said again. "What more can I do?" "You need to accept that you're sick. You need to start treatment." "Treatment for what? Every doctor says I'm healthy. Then we need to find better doctors." September became a nightmare. Angela documented everything. She took photos, made notes, recorded dates and times, built a case. September 18th. Roy left the stove on all day while at work. House could have burned down. September 22nd. Roy forgot Emma had a doctor's appointment and didn't take her, had to reschedule. September 25th. Roy parked the truck in the middle of the driveway, blocking the garage. Couldn't remember parking it there. September 28th. Roy accused me of moving his tools, became angry and defensive when I said I hadn't touched them. Each incident was documented, photographed, detailed, and I couldn't remember any of them happening. On October 1st, I came home from work, and Angela was sitting in the living room with our pastor, Father Michael from St. Paul's Cathedral. He'd married us, baptized Emma. He looked uncomfortable. "Roy," Father Michael said, "Angela asked me to come talk to you. She's concerned." "About what?" "About your health, about your memory, about some behaviors she's seeing." I sat down. "Father, I've seen 3 doctors. They all say I'm healthy. My brain is fine. I don't have dementia." "Then why does Angela keep finding evidence that you're struggling?" "I don't know. I honestly don't know." Father Michael talked for an hour, gentle, kind, but firm. He said sometimes we can't see our own decline. Sometimes we need to trust the people who love us. He suggested I see another specialist, get a second opinion, consider medication, consider taking time off work. After he left, Angela said, "I'm glad Father Michael talked to you. Roy, I love you. But I'm scared for you. I'm scared for Emma. Something is wrong and you won't admit it." "Because nothing is wrong. You're yelling at me." I realized I was. Took a breath. "I'm sorry. I'm frustrated. Everyone keeps telling me I'm sick and every doctor says I'm not. Then maybe the doctors are wrong." On October 8th, Angela filed for divorce. I was at the shop working on a custom bookshelf for a client when Carlos came in with an envelope. Boss, somebody just came by. Asked me to give you this. I opened it. Legal papers. Petition for dissolution of marriage. Angela Marie Masterson versus Roy David Masterson. Grounds. Irreconcilable differences and concerns about respondents' mental health and increasingly erratic behavior. I sat down on my workbench. Read it 3 times. Felt like I'd been hit with a hammer. The custody petition was attached. Angela was asking for full custody of Emma, with supervised visitation only for me. She cited my alleged memory problems, my alleged aggressive behavior, my alleged refusal to seek treatment. And she had documentation, pages and pages, dates, times, photographs, testimony from witnesses, medical reports, a whole case built over 6 months. I called Beth Rodriguez. She was recommended by another carpenter I knew who'd gone through a divorce. She had an office on Peach Street downtown. "Mr. Masterson," she said after reading the filings, "this is a very strong case against you. Your wife has documented incidents. She has witness statements. She has medical opinions." "It's all lies." "Can you prove that?" "How do I prove I didn't forget something? How do I prove I didn't yell at my daughter when she says I did?" "That's the problem. You can't prove a negative, but we can build our own case. We can get our own medical experts. We can show that multiple doctors have cleared you. Will that be enough?" Beth looked at me. Her expression was not encouraging. "Honestly? Probably not. Angela has specific incidents, specific dates, specific witnesses. We have doctors saying you passed cognitive tests, but Roy, passing a test doesn't mean you're not having memory problems at home. Do you understand? The judge is going to look at the totality of the evidence, and right now, Angela's evidence is overwhelming. So what do I do? You document everything from this point forward. Keep a journal. Write down everything you do, where you go, who you talk to. Take photos, keep receipts. Build a paper trail showing that you're lucid and functional. I started documenting. October 10th, woke at 5 a.m. Made coffee. Ate oatmeal. Went to shop at 6:30. Worked on bookshelf project. Lunch at noon with Carlos and Mike at Sub Express on 26th Street. Worked until 5 p.m. Home at 5:30. Made dinner. Watched news. Bed at 10 p.m. Every day, every hour, every activity. Photographed, time-stamped, documented. But it felt futile, because Angela had 6 months of documentation showing I was declining, and I had 2 weeks showing I was okay. The preliminary custody hearing was set for October 30th, Halloween Eve. The date felt appropriate. That morning, I woke at 4:30, couldn't sleep, made coffee, sat at the kitchen table I'd built, ran my hand over the surface, felt the smooth wood under my palm. This table had witnessed thousands of meals, thousands of conversations, Emma learning to write her letters, Emma doing homework, Emma telling us about her day at school. And now it was all ending. I drove to the courthouse at 8, met Beth in the lobby. She looked nervous. "Roy, I'm going to be honest with you. Angela's lawyer is Dennis Crawford. He's very good. He's going to paint you as dangerous and unstable. We need to show that you're calm, rational, and competent. Don't lose your temper. Don't argue. Let me handle everything." Okay. We walked into the courtroom. It was on the 3rd floor. Small room, wood paneling, American flag, Pennsylvania flag, judge's bench at the front, tables for the lawyers, gallery seating. Angela was already there with Crawford. She was wearing a navy blue suit, hair pulled back, minimal makeup. She looked professional, concerned. The worried wife trying to protect her daughter. She glanced at me. No emotion, like I was a stranger. Emma wasn't in the courtroom, too young for the proceedings. She was with Angela's sister, Rebecca, waiting to hear who would get custody. Judge Patricia Harmon entered. We all stood. She sat. We sat. "This is a preliminary hearing in the matter of Masterson versus Masterson," Judge Harmon said. "We're here to determine temporary custody arrangements for the minor child, Emma Louise Masterson, age 13. Mr. Crawford, you may proceed." Crawford stood, buttoned his suit jacket. "Thank you, Your Honor." What happened next was methodical, professional, devastating. Crawford presented his case piece by piece. He showed photos. The one of me in the driveway at 2 a.m., explained that Angela had heard a noise outside and asked me to check. I'd gone out, and she'd found me standing there 20 minutes later, confused about how to get back inside. I had no memory of this. He showed a photo of my truck parked diagonally across 2 spaces at a Tops grocery store. Explained that I'd parked like this, and then couldn't remember where I'd parked or how I'd gotten to the store. I had no memory of this either. He presented the medical report from Dr. Stephen Walsh, a neuropsychologist. Doctor. Walsh had never examined me, but he'd reviewed Angela's documentation and written a report concluding that I was exhibiting behavioral patterns consistent with early-stage dementia, including memory impairment, temporal disorientation, and personality changes. He called Angela's sister Rebecca to testify via video. Rebecca appeared on a screen at the front of the courtroom. She was Angela's older sister, lived in Harbor Creek. I'd always gotten along with her, or thought I had. Crawford asked her questions. She answered them calmly. Yes, I've witnessed Roy's decline. Last month I was visiting and Roy came downstairs in the middle of the night. He seemed confused, didn't know where he was. Have you witnessed any aggressive behavior? Yes. He yelled at Angela for moving his tools. He was very angry. Angela was frightened. In your opinion, should Roy have unsupervised access to Emma? No, I love Roy, but I don't think he's safe right now, not until he gets treatment. Crawford called our neighbor, Patricia Kowalski. She testified that she'd seen me outside at odd hours, that I'd knocked on her door at midnight once, confused about which house was mine. I wanted to scream that it was all lies, but Beth had her hand on my arm. Wait, her grip said. Crawford presented it all smoothly, built the case brick by brick, and I watched Judge Harmon's face, watched her take notes, watched her expression remain neutral. Then Crawford called Angela to testify. She stood, walked to the witness stand, placed her hand on the Bible. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. She sat. Crawford stood at the podium. Mrs. Masterson, how long have you been married to Roy? 12 years. We married in February 2014. And you have a daughter together? Yes, Emma. She's 13. I had her from a previous relationship, but Roy adopted her when she was 3. Can you describe your observations of Roy's behavior over the past year? Angela took a breath, looked sad, looked worried. It started small, little things. He'd forget where he put his keys, forget to take his vitamins. At first I thought it was just stress, but it got worse. He started forgetting appointments, forgetting conversations. One time he forgot he was supposed to pick Emma up from soccer practice. She was stranded at the field for over an hour. How did that make you feel? Terrified. If he could forget his own daughter, what else might he forget? Have you witnessed any personality changes? Yes. Angela's voice cracked. She was crying now, real tears or good acting. He's become angry, short-tempered. He yelled at Emma, called her names. She came to me crying, saying she was scared of him. What names did he call her? He called her stupid, an idiot, said she was lazy. How did you respond? I confronted him. He denied it. Said he didn't remember, but Emma wouldn't lie about something like that. Has Roy seen doctors? Yes. He saw his primary care doctor, Dr. Morrison, then a neurologist, Dr. Chen. They both did basic screening tests and said he was fine, but they weren't there. They didn't see what I saw every day. So I asked him to see Dr. Walsh, a specialist in dementia. Roy refused. Why do you think he refused? Because he's in denial. His father had dementia. I think Roy is terrified that he has it too, so he won't admit it. Crawford nodded. Let that sit. Then, Mrs. Masterson, in your professional opinion as someone who has lived with Roy for 12 years, observed his daily behavior, documented his decline, do you believe he is currently capable of safely caring for your daughter? Angela looked at me. Her eyes were wet. No, I don't. I love Roy. I always will. But I don't trust him alone with Emma. Not until he gets proper treatment. Not until he acknowledges what's happening and gets help. Thank you, Mrs. Masterson. No further questions. It was perfect. She'd been perfect. Worried wife. Loving but protective. Every word calculated to make me look dangerous. Judge Harmon looked at Beth. "Ms. Rodriguez, your witness." Beth stood, but before she could ask the first question, my phone buzzed in my pocket. Cloud backup complete. 47 new audio files. I pulled it out, looked at the notification, clicked it. The files opened. All from Angela's tablet, all voice memos she'd recorded for herself, all time-stamped and dated. I opened the first one, put in my earbud. Angela's voice, clear, calm, cold. October 2nd, 9:47 p.m. Roy believed the story about Emma being scared. She's such a good actress. We practiced what she'd say for an hour before he got home. When she started crying and said he'd yelled at her, you should have seen his face. He looked so confused, so hurt. Like he actually couldn't remember doing it, which of course he couldn't because it never happened. This is working better than I thought. Paul says if we keep this up for another 2 weeks, we'll have enough for the custody filing. I went cold, opened another file. September 15th, 7:22 p.m. I moved Roy's keys again this morning. Hid them in the garage under his toolbox. He spent 25 minutes looking for them. When he finally found them, I told him he must have been working in the garage and forgot. He actually believed it. He's starting to doubt his own memory. Paul says this is exactly what we need. Keep making him question himself until he can't trust his own mind. Another file. September 8th, 10:15 p.m. I deleted Roy's text message to me about working late. Then I called him angry, said he never told me he'd be late. He showed me his phone, but I pretended the text wasn't there. Acted confused, made him think he'd imagined sending it. He looked so lost, so uncertain. I almost felt bad. Almost. But Paul reminds me this is necessary. We need documented evidence of his mental decline. Paul. The recordings kept mentioning Paul. I didn't know a Paul. I opened another. August 22nd, 11:30 p.m. I got the photo I needed tonight. I told Roy I heard a noise outside. Asked him to check. He went out in his pajamas. While he was outside, I took the photo of him standing in the driveway looking confused. Then I locked the door and waited 5 minutes before letting him back in. Perfect evidence of him wandering at night, disoriented. Paul says the more photos like this we have, the stronger the case. I opened file after file. Angela describing how she'd staged everything, how she'd moved my things and blamed my memory, how she'd deleted my texts and calls, how she'd coached Emma to lie, how she'd paid Dr. Walsh $5,000 to write a psychological evaluation without ever meeting me, and every recording mentioned Paul. Paul says, Paul thinks, Paul told me. Paul and I discussed. I scrolled to the most recent file, October 27th, 3 days ago. October 27th, 10:45 p.m. The hearing is in 3 days. Paul went over my testimony with me tonight. We practiced my answers. I need to cry when I talk about Emma being scared. I need to seem reluctant to say Roy is dangerous, like it breaks my heart. Paul says judges respond to mothers who seem protective but sad, women who don't want to hurt their husbands but have no choice. I'm ready. After Thursday, I'll have full custody. Roy will have supervised visits at best, and Paul and I can finally be together without hiding. Paul. I showed Beth the phone. She put in the earbud, listened to 3 files. Her face went from shock to fury. Roy, she whispered, this is all the proof we need. She's been gaslighting you, staging everything, and she's been working with someone named Paul. Who's Paul? I don't know, but we're about to find out. Beth stood up. Your Honor, before I begin my cross-examination, I need to submit new evidence that came to light this morning. Judge Harmon looked up. What kind of evidence, Ms. Rodriguez? Audio recordings, Your Honor. 47 of them. They were automatically backed up from Mrs. Masterson's tablet to a shared cloud account that she and Mr. Masterson use. Mr. Masterson just received the backup notification. These recordings are Mrs. Masterson's own voice memos describing her plan to stage evidence of Mr. Masterson's mental decline. Crawford stood up fast. Objection, Your Honor. This is ambush. We haven't had time to review this evidence. This is improper. Beth turned to him. The evidence became available 15 minutes ago, Mr. Crawford. We had no prior knowledge, and it directly contradicts Mrs. Masterson's sworn testimony. Judge Harmon held up a hand. I'll allow it, but Ms. Rodriguez, I want to hear these recordings myself before deciding their admissibility. Of course, Your Honor. Beth connected her phone to the courtroom speakers. The AV tech helped her set it up. Then she pressed play. Angela's voice filled the courtroom. October the 2nd, 9:47 p.m. Roy believed the story about Emma being scared. She's such a good actress. We practiced what she'd say for an hour before he got home. The courtroom went silent, everyone listening. Judge Harmon's expression changed, hardened. Beth played another. September 15th, 7:22 p.m. I moved Roy's keys again this morning, hid them in the garage. Angela sat frozen in the witness chair. Her face had gone white. Beth played 7 recordings total, each one more damning than the last, each one describing in Angela's own words how she'd systematically destroyed my credibility. Each one mentioning Paul. When the last recording ended, the silence was so complete you could hear the air conditioning humming. Judge Harmon looked at Angela. Her voice was cold. Mrs. Masterson, did you make these recordings? Angela's voice was barely a whisper. I can explain it's not what it sounds like. That's not what I asked. Did you make these recordings? Yes or no? Yes, but... And is everything on these recordings true? Did you stage incidents to make your husband believe he had dementia? Angela looked at Crawford. He was staring at his notes, offering no help. Did you coach your daughter to lie about being afraid of her father? Your Honor, I was trying to protect myself. I needed... Did you pay Dr. Stephen Walsh $5,000 to write a psychological evaluation of your husband without actually examining him? Tears were running down Angela's face now. Real tears this time. I had to. Roy wouldn't let me leave. I needed to get custody of Emma. You needed to commit fraud against this court. Judge Harmon sat back, looked at the ceiling, took a breath. Then she looked at Angela again. Mrs. Masterson, you have committed perjury. You have attempted to defraud this court. You have falsely accused your husband of having a serious mental illness. You have coached a minor child to give false testimony. And if these recordings are accurate, you've conspired with an individual named Paul to manufacture evidence in a custody case. She looked at Crawford. Mr. Crawford, who is Paul? Crawford stood. He looked sick. Your Honor, I don't know. You don't know? No, Your Honor. Mrs. Masterson never mentioned anyone named Paul to me. Beth stood up. Your Honor, may I ask Mrs. Masterson who Paul is? Judge Harmon nodded. Beth turned to Angela. Mrs. Masterson, who is Paul? Angela didn't answer. I'll ask again. You've mentioned Paul dozens of times in these recordings. Paul who helped you plan this. Paul who coached you. Paul who told you what evidence to manufacture. Who is Paul? Still silence. Your Honor, Beth said, I'd like to request a recess so we can subpoena phone records and identify this Paul. Denied, Judge Harmon said. Mrs. Masterson, I'm ordering you to answer the question. Who is Paul? Angela looked at Crawford, then at me, then at the judge. Paul Hendricks, he's an attorney, and he's what, Mrs. Masterson? He's my boyfriend. The courtroom exploded, not literally, but the energy shifted. I heard someone in the gallery gasp, saw the court reporter's eyes go wide. Judge Harmon slammed her gavel. Order. She looked at Crawford. Mr. Crawford, do you know a Paul Hendricks? Crawford's face had gone grey. Yes, Your Honor. Paul Hendricks he's my law partner. The room went silent again. Judge Harmon leaned forward. Your law partner? The Paul Hendricks who practices at Crawford and Hendricks Law on State Street? Yes, Your Honor. And you had no knowledge that your law partner was having an affair with your client, no knowledge that he helped her fabricate evidence, no knowledge of any of this? No, Your Honor, I swear, I had no idea. Paul handles mostly corporate law. He never mentioned anything about this case. Judge Harmon didn't look convinced. She turned back to Angela. Mrs. Masterson, how long have you been involved with Paul Hendricks? Since January. And this plan to stage your husband's mental decline, whose idea was that? Angela was crying hard now. Paul's. He said it was the only way I could get full custody. He said Roy would fight the divorce otherwise. He said we needed documentation, medical reports, witnesses. He said we needed to make Roy look unstable. So you coached your daughter to lie? Yes. You moved his belongings and told him he'd forgotten where he put them? Yes. You deleted his messages and calls and made him think he'd imagined them? Yes. You photographed him in stage situations to make him appear confused? Yes. You paid a doctor to write a false psychological evaluation? Yes. And all of this was Paul Hendricks' idea? Angela nodded. Couldn't speak. Judge Harmon sat back. Ms. Rodriguez, do you have all 47 recordings? Yes, Your Honor. I want them turned over to the Erie County District Attorney's Office immediately. Mrs. Masterson has admitted under oath to multiple felonies. This is now a criminal matter. She looked at the bailiff. Bailiff, please take Mrs. Masterson into custody. The bailiff stood, walked to the witness stand. Angela looked shocked. Your Honor, please. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Please don't. You didn't make a mistake, Mrs. Masterson. You planned and executed a conspiracy to commit fraud. You deliberately attempted to destroy your husband's reputation and mental health. You used your daughter as a tool. And you lied under oath in my courtroom. The bailiff put handcuffs on Angela, led her out of the courtroom. She was crying, saying she was sorry, that she didn't mean for it to go this far. I watched her go, felt nothing. No satisfaction, no anger, just empty. Judge Harmon looked at me. Mr. Masterson, I apologize on behalf of this court. You have been subjected to psychological abuse, fraud, and perjury. I am immediately dismissing Mrs. Masterson's petition for full custody. I am granting you full temporary custody of Emma pending a complete investigation. Mrs. Masterson will have no visitation until this matter is resolved. She looked at Beth. Ms. Rodriguez, please prepare an order for full custody. I'll sign it today. She looked at Crawford. Mr. Crawford, I'm referring this matter to the Erie County Bar Association for investigation of both you and Paul Hendricks. If they find you had knowledge of this scheme, you'll both be disbarred. Crawford nodded. Looked like he might throw up. Judge Harmon stood. We're adjourned. The hearing was over. Beth and I walked out into the October sunlight. It was cold, sharp. The air smelled like Lake Erie and car exhaust. Roy, Beth said, that was the most dramatic thing I've ever seen in a courtroom, and I've been practicing law for 19 years. What happens now? Now Angela gets charged with perjury, fraud, and conspiracy. Paul Hendricks gets charged with conspiracy, suborn of perjury, and probably disbarred. Dr. Walsh loses his license, and you get your daughter back. When can I see Emma? Today, right now. The judge gave you full custody. Let's go get her. I drove to Rebecca's house in Harbor Creek, white colonial on a quiet street. Emma had been staying there for a month of supervised visits where I had to see my own daughter with Angela watching. A month of Emma looking at me with confusion and fear because her mother had coached her to lie. Rebecca answered the door. She looked shocked. Roy, what are you doing here? Judge Harmon gave me full custody. I'm here to get Emma. Rebecca's mouth opened, closed. But Angela said, she said you weren't safe. Angela lied about everything, and now she's in jail. Can I see my daughter? Emma appeared behind Rebecca. She was wearing jeans and a hoodie. Her blonde hair was in a ponytail. She looked scared. Dad? I knelt down, looked her in the eye. Emma, I need to tell you something. Everything your mum said about me yelling at you and forgetting things, it was all lies. She made it up. She made you practice what to say. Do you understand? None of it was real. Emma's eyes filled with tears. I know, Dad. Mum made me say those things. She said it was the only way she could be happy. She said you'd understand later. She said it wouldn't hurt you, but I knew it was wrong. I knew it was hurting you. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I pulled her into a hug, held her tight. It's okay, sweetheart. It's not your fault. You were manipulated by an adult. That's not on you. Am I in trouble? No, you're not in trouble. You're coming home with me. We drove back to Erie. Emma sat in the passenger seat of my truck. We didn't talk much at first, just drove. Then Emma said, "Is Mom really in jail?" "Yes." "For how long?" "I don't know. She did something very wrong. She's going to have to face the consequences." "Will I have to see her?" "Not unless you want to. The judge said she can't see you until the court says it's okay." Emma nodded, looked out the window. "I don't want to see her. Not for a while. Maybe not ever." "That's okay, you don't have to decide that now." We pulled into our driveway, the house I'd renovated with my own hands, the house where we'd been a family. Emma looked at it. "It feels like I've been gone forever." "It's only been a month." It felt longer. We went inside. The house was quiet, still. I'd been living here alone for a month, working, sleeping, eating microwave dinners, waiting. Emma went upstairs to her room, came back down 20 minutes later. "Dad, can we order pizza?" "Sure, sweetheart, whatever you want." We ordered pizza from Giorgio's on Peach Street, sat at the kitchen table eating it. Just the two of us. Emma told me about school, about her friends, about a boy named Marcus who'd asked if she wanted to go to the movies. I told her she was too young for dating. She rolled her eyes but smiled. Normal. We were normal again. That night I tucked Emma into bed like I used to when she was little, sat on the edge of her mattress. "Dad?" she said. "Yeah, kiddo?" "I'm sorry I lied. I'm sorry I said you yelled at me and forgot things. Mom kept practicing with me. She'd make me say it over and over until it sounded real. She said it was important, that it would help her, but I hated it. I hated lying to you." "I know, and I forgive you. You're 13. Your mom is an adult. She manipulated you. That's not your fault. But I should have told you. I should have said something. You were scared. I understand that. But Emma, from now on, you can always tell me the truth. No matter what. Even if it's hard. Even if you think it'll make me mad. I'd rather know the truth than hear a lie. Okay? Okay. I love you, sweetheart. I love you too, Dad." I turned off her light, went downstairs, sat in the living room in the dark, thought about the last 7 months, thought about Angela, about the woman I'd thought I'd married versus who she actually was. The criminal charges moved fast. The DA, Susan Garrett, called me 2 days after the hearing. She was maybe 50, sharp, professional. "Mr. Masterson, based on the recordings and Mrs. Masterson's testimony, we're charging her with perjury, filing false reports, conspiracy to commit fraud, and child endangerment for coaching a minor to lie in court." What's she looking at? If convicted on all counts, 3 to 5 years, but she'll probably take a plea. Most defendants do. And Paul Hendricks. We're charging him with conspiracy, subornation of perjury, and practicing law while engaged in fraud. The Bar Association is also moving to disbar him. He's looking at 2 to 4 years plus permanent loss of his law license. What about Dr. Walsh? He's cooperating. He admitted Mrs. Masterson paid him $5,000 to write the evaluation without examining you. He's agreed to testify against her in exchange for immunity. Angela spent 2 weeks in the Erie County Prison, couldn't make the $50,000 bail. Finally, Rebecca posted it. Angela moved in with her, started seeing a lawyer. A public defender named Sarah Klein. In December, Sarah called Beth. Angela wanted to make a deal, would plead guilty to reduced charges in exchange for a lighter sentence. "What's she offering?" Beth asked me. "She'll plead guilty to 1 count of perjury and 1 count of filing false reports. They'll drop the conspiracy and child endangerment charges. She'd get 18 months in prison, eligible for parole in 9 months, and she'd agree to give you full permanent custody of Emma with no visitation." What do you think? I thought about it. Thought about Angela sitting in prison for 5 years. Thought about Emma growing up visiting her mother in prison. Thought about the years of court battles if Angela fought this. Tell her, "I'll agree to the deal on 1 condition." She writes a letter to Emma explaining what she did and why, and she apologizes, not to me, to Emma. Angela agreed. The plea hearing was January 15th. I didn't attend. Beth went and called me after. She pled guilty. Judge sentenced her to 18 months. She'll be eligible for parole in August. Did she write the letter to Emma? Yes. Do you want me to mail it or bring it by? Mail it. I'll give it to Emma when I think she's ready. Paul Hendrick's case took longer. He fought it, hired an expensive lawyer, tried to claim he'd had no knowledge of Angela's plan, but the recordings were clear. He'd helped plan everything. In March, he ran out of money, took a plea deal, pled guilty to conspiracy. Got 1 year in prison and permanent disbarment. Dennis Crawford was investigated by the Bar Association. They found no evidence he'd known about the scheme. He kept his license, but his reputation was destroyed. His partnership with Hendricks dissolved. Last I heard, he'd moved to Pittsburgh and was working contract law for insurance companies. Dr. Walsh lost his psychology license, paid a $50,000 fine, got 2 years probation. The divorce was finalized in February. I got full custody of Emma. Angela got nothing. No visitation except supervised sessions if she completed parenting classes and therapy after her release. No alimony, no property settlement. I kept the house, kept my business, kept my life. Emma and I spent Christmas together, just the two of us. I cooked a turkey. She made stuffing from a recipe she found online. We watched old movies and opened presents by the tree I'd cut myself from a farm in McKean. "Dad," Emma said on Christmas night. "Yes, sweetheart? This is the best Christmas I've had in a long time." "Me too, kiddo." We started therapy in January, family therapy with Dr. Linda Park. She helped Emma process what had happened, helped her understand that her mother's actions weren't her fault, helped us rebuild trust. By spring, Emma was doing better, smiling more, bringing friends over, going back to being a kid. I went back to work. The shop was my refuge. The smell of sawdust, the sound of the table saw, the feel of wood under my hands. Measure twice, cut once. The rhythm of it. The certainty. Carlos and Mike never asked questions, just worked beside me, gave me space. In May, Angela called from prison, asked if she could talk to Emma. I said I'd ask Emma. Emma said no, not yet, maybe never. Angela was released in August, served 9 months, got out on parole. She didn't come back to Erie. Moved to Cleveland to be near another sister, got a job at a dental office, sends Emma birthday cards. Emma doesn't open them. I'm 58 now, still running Masterson custom woodwork, still waking at 5, still measuring twice and cutting once. Emma's 14, 9th grade, honor roll. Has friends, has a boyfriend I pretend not to know about. She's okay. Last week I finished a custom dining table for a client. Walnut. 10 feet long. Took me a month. When the client saw it, she cried. "It's beautiful," she said. "The most beautiful thing I've ever seen." Thank you. You must really love your work. I do. It's all about measuring twice and cutting once, getting it right the first time. That night Emma and I had dinner at the table I'd built years ago, the one from reclaimed barnwood. "Dad," Emma said, "can I ask you something?" "Always." "Do you ever miss Mom?" I thought about that. Really thought. I miss who I thought she was, the woman I married 12 years ago. But that woman either never existed or she changed into someone I don't recognize. So, no, I don't miss Angela. But I miss the idea of her. Emma nodded. I feel the same way. We finished dinner. She went to do homework. I sat on the back porch, looked at the tree house I'd built when Emma was 6. It was weathered now, needed repairs. The yellow paint was fading. I'd fix it this summer, measure the boards, cut new ones, rebuild what had worn down, measure twice, cut once. That's the rule. I'd measured Angela wrong. Trusted when I should have verified. But when the cloud backup gave me the measurements I needed, I cut clean and final. And I saved my daughter. If this story reminded you that truth always comes out, hit that subscribe button. We tell the real stories here. Stories about documentation and patience and waiting for the right moment. Stories about standing up when everyone thinks you're crazy. And if you want more stories about quiet strength and the power of evidence, stick around. Because that's what we do. We measure twice, we cut once, and we tell the truth even when it costs everything. Thank you for listening. And remember, always keep your cloud backups running. You never know what truth they might reveal.